Hello everyone! The topic I chose to research for my screenwriting industry project is Writing for Different Cultures, a screenwriter's guide to thriving in a foreign market. Now before I get into the research that I did, I want to read the intro that I wrote on my how-to handout, just so you have a clear idea of what my project is about. Breaking through the screenwriting industry in a foreign country sounds like a daunting task, but in reality, it's as simple as knowing your market. Different cultures produce different content to fit the desires of their audiences. Whether a screenwriter is looking to write overseas or not, knowing what to look for, in our case, in a television episode, is essential in understanding the market, and understanding the market one writes in is crucial to success in the screenwriting industry. So basically, my project is about knowing your market, and the path I chose to take with that topic was to look at other countries and see how their screenwriting industries work in relation to America's. The countries I originally chose to focus on as a case study are America, Japan, and India. And I decided to focus on television. The first step in my project would be to see what were the most popular shows from each of those countries. I ultimately decided on finding the top 3 most popular television shows from each country. Now, one of the first roadblocks I hit upon conducting my research was that when you originally search top 3 or top 5 or even top 10 most popular shows from so-and-so country, you get a lot of opinionated blogs. It's common for someone to write a blog post about what they think are the top 5 best shows, but in order for my project to really work, I needed one based in fact, based on actual analytics. So I eventually came across this one blog post where the girl actually cited a website called Parrot Analytics. So I go to the website to check out Parrot Analytics and what their company does, and the quote on the front page says, "Capturing TV content consumption and engagement from billions of fans around the world, Parrot Analytics' demand measurement platform provides unprecedented insights into global cross-platform, country-specific audience demand for television content." Well, my job's done. Not really. I tried getting in contact with them, but they never responded to me, so I pretty much had to go through the rest of the project on my own. But I at least had a lead. The one girl who had her list of the top 10 most popular American TV shows, she used Parrot Analytics somehow, so I felt like I could trust her post. And I found a Japanese website that had their own top shows ranking. And although they did not use Parrot Analytics, the paragraph that they used to describe how they got all this information was very similar to the methods, very similar if not the same, methods that Parrot Analytics said that they used. So I thought that site was also usable. And I never actually found a reliable top 3 most popular Indian shows, so I just decided to drop India from my project entirely, because there's no point doing this analysis if it's not even going to be accurate. So, based on the websites that I found, the top 3 most popular American TV shows are Game of Thrones, The Walking Dead, and Pretty Little Liars. Those are the top 3. And for Japan, the top shows were Crisis at number 1, Kodoku no Gurume at 2, and I need to look at my notes for this one. Kinkyu Torishira Beshitsu at 3. I found out what the most popular shows were, so the next step was to watch them all. So before watching these TV shows, I made myself a list of the specific things that I should be looking for and analyzing in these episodes. The 10 aspects that I looked at when analyzing the TV shows are genre, pace, tone, the opening hook, themes, special effects, explicit content, characters, dialogue, and the ending. After going through all of the shows and marking down all of my observations, this is my conclusion. The things I found for the American shows, for the most part, they were set in fantasy worlds. For instance, Game of Thrones is set in a medieval fantasy world. The Walking Dead is set in a post-apocalyptic zombie world. So it seems that American audiences tend to be more attracted to the fantasy, unrealistic type thing. Next is the American shows had a lot more explicit content than the Japanese shows. I mean, Game of Thrones is famous for all the nudity and sex stuff. Along with that, both Game of Thrones and The Walking Dead were pretty darn gory. Pretty Little Liars was pretty mellow compared to The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones, but I do have to say there was still an awful lot of smooching, and there were some drugs in it as well. The overall tone for the American shows was very dark and heavy. I mean, obviously with the content, zombie apocalypse, Game of Thrones where everyone's trying to get the throne and kill each other, it's very serious, not a lot of time for jokes. But in the Japanese shows, well, first of all, 2 out of the 3 are crime dramas, so the crime dramas are pretty popular in Japan. But I found, in direct contrast to America, all 3 of the Japanese shows took place in modern-day Japan. This very realistic setting. I don't want to say day-to-day life, because they're still crime investigators and really hardcore police people, so it's not really average life, but it's still very realistic. The Japanese shows, 2 out of the 3, were very highly suspenseful. I'd say while the American shows were heavy on drama and atmosphere, the Japanese shows were high action, fast paced, super suspenseful. One thing that I found interesting about the Japanese shows was their tone was very light and energetic. With the American shows, especially with Game of Thrones, Walking Dead, even Pretty Little Liars, there's this overarching sense of dread. But with the Japanese shows, the 2 crime dramas, for example, even though they're dealing with criminals, or some guy has a hostage, or some guy's gonna bomb a train, there's still this high energy music, and it's just, you want to see the crime people come in and kick the bad guys' butts, and it's a very lighthearted affair. Even though the crime dramas deal with sometimes heavy content, the tone of the show makes it seem like, at the end of the day, the good guys are gonna win, and the viewer knows at the end of the day the good guys are gonna win. So I guess that's why it still has that lighthearted tone to it. What did I do with all of my findings? What I did to put my findings into practice was I wrote 2 scripts. I wrote 1 script for an American audience, and I wrote another script for a Japanese audience. I basically took the same idea and tweaked it here and there to make it fit in the respective market. In the description, I've linked the how-to handout, which goes a little deeper into the 10 aspects that I used to analyze the shows, and I've also linked the 2 scripts that I wrote. Okay, that's everything. I hope you enjoyed the video, hope you learned a lot. Thanks for being interested in the topic, and I hope I was helpful in some way.